There we go. What do you know? It worked. How are you folks doing? Cliff, as you know, is my name. I'm here in the Queen City, the wonderful Radio City, in a cold, cold place. What happened, man? It was like spring and now it's all winter and stuff and cold. Um, Something to do with the winter of our discontent. I don't know. Tariffs and stock market crashes and everything else. It might as well be freezing as F too, right? Sorry about a couple of those issues. It's amazing when you don't even do this for a little while, you can forget stuff. The video thing was my fault. The audio thing was not. I feel like this is like a list of things in my life. Really bad high school chemistry grade, absolutely my fault. When my teacher, Mrs. I remember 10th grade, said that me and one of my good friends were sitting in the back of the room and like trying to sit there and play the drum parts to Kingdom Comes. What was the name of that song again? Get It On. Yes, good theme for kids. We did there. We tried to hit the drum parts in the back of the class, and then she invited her parents in and said that she thought I was on drugs. Well, joke's on her because I'm here right now and actually went to a decent college. And there's other things, plenty of things I can come up with that are my fault in life. So there's that. But then there's things that hopefully I'm participating a little bit in, just a little. Been a great week. Hands Off Rally speaks for itself. I've been reading larger and larger numbers. I don't know what you guys have all seen. 6 million is the most recent number I saw, which is incredible. That would be about 2% of our population. And it's not quite Belgrade, like 15% or whatever they had there, but we're getting there. Give us a couple more months of, oh yeah, it's just around the corner. Things will get better. We got to go through some pain first. It's the most beautiful, the best. The best pain ever, from the Mar-a-Lago buffet line where the billionaires all wait and don't worry about any of this stuff. I'm going to turn off this thing. Right. Or the nearby plastic surgeon to Mar-a-Lago, who I'm sure gets lots of work. They're doing great. Rest of us who want to actually take money out of investments. And here's the thing. It's tax time too. So it's even better, because you get to shell out if you're like me and you're a business person and you don't, I pay some stuff quarterly, but you end up paying some stuff at tax time. It's great when when the market is disappearing your funds and you have to find the money to pay for taxes. When you know that Donald Trump will pay like $700 in taxes, and I'll make up. Well, the rest of us will make up that deficit. He likes deficits. He's good at those. So, 3.5 is the magic. What do we got here? Loomer looks scary. We got also, oh yeah, Loomer. Yeah. She's been over to that plastic surgeon near Mar-a-Lago, I'm sure. I'm sure somebody set up shop there and is just cleaning up. But I digressed a bit. There's a number of things going on today. And what I put in the thumbnail in what I finished right before I got here, because this is sort of the reason, folks, that we've had to have Matt come in as a sub for me on a lot of Tuesdays, which, by the way, I hope you enjoyed Matt yesterday. Make sure to tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. We're open to constructive criticism. But I think he's pretty damn good. And even now, because I've got the Substack show is kicking off tomorrow, folks, 2 p.m. Do I have a link I can give you? They sent out a really cool magazine that was at the site that had stuff on us all the new shows. If you guys are familiar with David Neer and Aaron Rupar, Aaron was on my 12-hour live stream there when I did it. They both are going to have a new show too. See, so you get all sorts of fun people that you get to see. And as usual, right when you want to find something is right when you don't find it. Let's see if it's hiding somewhere else. I don't know, but I will. Oh, wait, there we go. This may be it. So, we got that going on. We got Matt taking Tuesdays. We got Wednesdays here, and tariffs are blowing up the markets. Peter Navarro and or Peter, I'm sorry, I'll quote what's his name said. Retardo due to Elon Musk, who really, I wonder why he bought Twitter and did it because nobody thought he was funny. I mean, with creative and really intelligent and just forward-thinking jokes like that. I mean, the punchline there is incredible. How did he come up with that? I'm just impressed. I'm sorry. I mean, he really is a crafty guy. But I'm annoyed at the fact that there are times here that I really should prepare for these kinds of things, and I don't always do it because a lot's going on. Here you go. Here's a I'm putting it in here. The Substack guide. It's got some streaming stuff on there that you can learn, so you can go over there. Please go and sign up. Again, a lot of my operation will be over there, and I've told you all of this. I'm going to keep growing YouTube and keep doing this. I will be here every Wednesday. Rain, sun, shine, meteor shower. I said sun and shine at the same time. Rain, shine, meteor shower. You know, I don't know. Ming the Merciless comes down to the earth. I'll still make it here, but just trying to pull things, make everything a little tighter so that I can get everything done I need to get done. And there's a lot to get done. So our main story was going to be if they were to sing the great Guns N' Roses song, they would sing, I don't need no civil war, but the GOP needs a civil war, it seems. They're all killing each other. Tariffs are a big part of it. Stock market's a big part of it. I think there's actually, and I want to write this up somewhere, I think there's a criminal primary now. And I'm not kidding you. I think you have to have committed some criminality. That's street cred. Seriously, think of all the people Trump brought up on stage with him and whatever to try to win over young males, and the whole sort of, we like badasses. And like, it's all due to the fact that we can't tell the difference between watching like the good, the bad, and the ugly, or in more recent years, a Jason Bourne flick or a John Wick flick, which all of that stuff I love. But realizing in real life, people who tend to murder lots of people and beat the crap out of them are not the good guys. People that break laws are not the good guys. Breaking Bad was awesome. In real life, if my kid's chemistry teacher started selling meth, I'd want him to go to prison, no matter the reason, even if it was, due to the fact that he had cancer. Now, there's a broader statement there on the American system, the fact that a guy who had cancer was not getting the medical treatment he deserved, and that is a different story. But, it boggles the mind, and it worked. We can try to deny it worked, and we can try to be PC. I mean, it's nobody cares if you say young white guys ended up voting more for Trump, but young everybody did. It earned, and in the end, black voters were the most immune to it, but Trump did pick up a couple of points among young black voters. He won young Latino voters and Latino males. I'm talking about men now, Latino men overall, not just young Latino men, but just Latino men in general, 47% for Trump. He won more Asian younger men. Like, it's crazy. And all of us, and I admit it, man, I fell for it too. So I thought, I get, there's some things we can't know. Like, I think I've mentioned a couple of times I've made Walking Dead jokes because I'm watching that with my kid right now. Like, zombie apocalypses are fun as hell on TV. I don't want one in real life. Like, apocalypsi, is that the plural in Greek? Caused by whether it's that or a stock market or a guy who has animal balloons with urine in them filling his head and thinks that that tariffs are a smart idea. I don't really care what the reasoning is. An apocalypse is a bad thing. On TV, not in real life. Much like Jason Bourne, much like everything else. And I see Mr. Overdose 101 there. Black man here. I was a part of the 88% that voted for the smart black lady. Yes, you were awesome. And again, most black men did, in younger black men. But the fact that Donald Trump, a guy who's been racist his whole life and all that, and again, we can go to all the reasons from, lack of progressive media infrastructure, why I'm trying to build this, why I'm really trying to build the Substack, why I bother you guys. Don't mean to, but for things like super chats and ask you to sign up as a paid subscriber and do all this stuff, because, if you can make this stuff work and you can do all this, we can add to that infrastructure. If we can't, I mean, I know so many people, I can't tell you, and I've talked about this before. I mean, 2 or 3 of them still close friends who were such talented communicators. so good. And they're now doing it for corporate America because they could not find regular paying work on our side because we don't have a heritage. I mean, we have the Center for American Progress, and that's about it. They've got a Heritage Foundation, an American Enterprise Institute, and a Claremont Institute, Foundation for Defending Democracies, and you can go on and on and on. And we don't do it. So, and then you can get over there, you can get paid to be on Fox News. I think I've told you all before, the only place that ever paid me back when I was much more on my going on TV and debating phase, and I was told by some folks that I was pretty decent at it, was Sinclair, because they needed somebody liberal. And they actually liked that I wasn't a pushover because they thought it created better entertainment. I like to just go on and beat the crap rhetorically out of the Republican and the host together, because that made it a challenge. Two dummies maybe equal one half smart person. Not really, but nobody on our side ever paid me to do any of that. We just don't do it. And so, like, what ends up happening is Carl Jacobson's been a member for 6 months. Thank you. So we end up having to do it ourselves, but we're at such a massive disadvantage because of this. We've lost so much talent, and there's just no way they should even be competitive. But our lack of infrastructure, mainstream media, corporate media failing us, all of that. And what the end result of all that is, we lose elections that we should win. We would win about 90% of them. There's democratic weakness in there too, but all these things feed into each other. If there was more progressive or liberal infrastructure, Democrats would probably have more courage. If corporate media didn't cover things in such a slanted way, skewed way against Democrats, maybe Democrats would have more courage. And there are more and more Democrats who have more courage. So that is good. And Hugh Tube, who's in here, said there should be no less than 1 million lawsuits versus Trump right now. You're right about that. Absolutely, we should be, that should be one of the things we use against not just Trump, all of them. Look at what Fox News had to end up paying Dominion and these other companies, right, who sued them. Like, every time, I really don't understand why somebody hasn't organized lawsuits against Fox News. I know our friend Spacco, who's shown up here times before, has done it. But, like, he doesn't have, they haven't given him resources to do it either. Somebody with resources organize. They when they go after innocent people, you saw that. What their names, was it Ruby and the other one, the Georgia workers that won their lawsuits against Rudy and others. Yeah, they weren't public figures, and he destroyed their lives. Like, Fox does it all the time. Anytime they do some stupid War and Christmas segment about some local school and that school gets death threats, or when they're eating the pets, there should have been lawsuits everywhere. Guys, it really gets exhausting fighting with both arms and one leg tied behind your back. I mean, honestly, the goodness of most American people and the fact that our democracy, the testament to the strength of our democracy is that any of this is still standing. I mean, I'm serious. Like, with the difference in resources on their side for messaging and message promotion, the skewing of our corporate media, the weakness in a lot of the Democratic caucus, and I get some of that's caused by those two things. And we got people stepping up and speaking out. I always make sure to say that. We've got your Gretchen Whitmers and your Jasmine Crockett's and Eric Swalwell's and people like Adam Schiff's been great. And, we have a new breed, and we need some of the newer, younger. And the hilarious thing is, in politics, that includes, like, people my age, like 50 something is younger. We need more of Gen Xers and Gen Y. That we don't call it that anymore. Millennials, right? Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, right? Maxwell Frost is fantastic. Gen Z. There are a lot of millennials that are fantastic. I think Swalwell's a millennial. Fantastic. But really, as much as I was very pro-Biden, and as you all probably know, as I always disclose, I wrote ads for Biden in 2020. Had nothing to do with this campaign this time around. Independent, doing these kinds of things. Again, that whole cadre of 80-somethings, from Schumer to Durbin to Pelosi should be on the Mount Rushmore of legislators. I say that all the time. One of the best ever. When to that period in time, when we went back to the House in 2006, 2008, most of that doesn't get done without her. But at this point, you got to know when to step off the stage. And you got to also know when you don't know how to communicate in the way that needs to be now, in not a 24-hour news cycle, but news cycles that are in 5 minutes, where social media and press conferences and causing all sorts of spectacle and doing all sorts of things, doing what Cory Booker did. Why is it? I mean, we should have one Democrat doing what Cory Booker did every single week. Eventually the news would get bored and they wouldn't cover it anymore. You're right. And, that's fine. And then maybe we wouldn't do it anymore. But the first 4 or 5 times they would. Or how about you have Cory Booker do that? And then you've got a group of folks who are outside the Capitol creating some kind of a spectacle to get attention about what's going on, like the Hands Off March, which again was a huge success. And I think Indivisible, Move On, the groups involved get huge credit. But the thing is, we need to be firing on all cylinders. We need marches going on while people are filibustering, while press conferences are being held, while paid ads are reaching people through Snapchat and reaching people through YouTube, while, we're making, if we have to make them, even 15-minute, policy explainers, but have it done by celebrities. Get George Clooney and Bruce Springsteen and Barack Obama. And if you get like some of the dudes that everybody loves, and dudettes, I should say women, I just thought of those ones because they were very loud during a campaign. But of course, what's her name? Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who's hilarious. Get her up there doing it. Get Elizabeth Banks, who's great. Get Sarah Silverman. We can go on and on. It's just, the lack of an aggressive press posture every single day. And I did see they were doing that shadow cabinet thing that Ken Martin created the other day, and that's where I saw Adam Schiff talking. That is great. There should be a shadow cabinet press briefing every week. Create these different groups. The shadow cabinet should only be one thing. Okay? Maybe create a group of nuclear scientists who are talking about how the nukes aren't being watched and have them do briefings. Maybe those on communicable diseases and deadly viruses, and maybe have them coming out and talking about what they're not doing when they're cutting the CDC with Ebola. They're going to keep cutting the CDC. They're going to keep cutting these other programs. It's not like these are one-offs. Get these groups together. Get them out there. Give them the kinds of memorable taglines and phrases. Create ads. Put them on country radio. Put them on like talk radio where people are already getting pissed at Trump. Put out in farmland constant ads. Hell, have people like pull something from like what was it called? To the late great, and I want to give credit for the fact that one of the best character portrayals I've ever seen in Tombstone by Val Kilmer, Doc Holliday, and I loved him in a lot of stuff. He was the Saint, and of course, Top Gun. What was the first one where like the guy dressed up in like a, and then some sexual things happen. So we won't get into that. Dressed up in like a cow. Because some people dress up like cows to go out and get film that are dying. That don't have cattle ranchers and workers to take care of them. Be creative and constant out around the country and in DC. There should not be a day where people should not see a variety of press releases, press conferences, various ads, on various different types of media, all of it. Drive the message home. And all of you should be, it doesn't matter. You have to say the exact same words. In some ways, it's better if you use a couple different words here and there, but mostly the same thrust of it, the same narrative structure where there's 3 things, 4 at most is what people really can remember. There are 4 things you're saying about Republicans, and there's 4 things you're saying about yourself. And you're doing it best if the things you say about yourself directly contrast with what the Republicans say, which is easy, right? They've got billionaires who were never elected going in closed door rooms and deciding who is going to live and who's going to die, who's going to be able to make money, who's going to get fired. We do that when we vote and we pass legislation because we were elected by regular people and don't take money from big corporate PACs, blah, 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 blah. I mean, again, you can do this stuff easily. I see somebody there, Mr. Overdose. Again, you're jumping in today about the idea of a progressive press secretary. I mean, that'd be a great idea. Why not have somebody just respond to everything that Levitt, that idiot, says? So when she's like, lower level judges can't just go deciding that what Donald Trump does is unconstitutional. Well, you see, there's this thing. Oh, it's old, and you probably didn't read it in whatever beauty school you went to or whatever, wherever you wasted your time, Baghdad Barbie. But you see, this thing, the Constitution says that judges can do that. Federal judges can say that what Trump does is unconstitutional. That's the way it works. Um, yes, and Sherry Jacobus, as you say, Lefty Grips. I should have invited her on. She's a good friend, and she's been saying the press secretary thing all the time and saying Pete Buttigieg. I'd love it. Get him out there, and he could be the one that does a lot of the congressional ones. But again, the thing where I went even beyond Sherry is, and not to criticize Sherry's idea was brilliant, but like to join in is it shouldn't just be there. They're cutting veterans programs regularly. Why don't we have a group of Democratic veterans showing up outside of the Veterans Administration constantly to speak and protest? And I'm not just talking like outsiders, some members too. Maybe state legislators come in, maybe governors come in and do some of it. You switch off. It's like an ongoing sort of like you're handing the baton off. Why not outside of Health and Human Services? Make the case there. But what they're doing to us in terms of cutting CDC and some of these other things. I mean, again, there's constant cases to be made. I didn't plan on getting off on all of this today. Heading off in this direction today. That we'll call a Freudian slip. And I mean, but I think that it leads me back to where I began, which is we're at a point now where Trump was able to do the things he was able to do because this country failed. We failed. Joe Biden, the guy that I helped elect, was not tough enough. Like on legislation, I'd give him close to an A. I think he's probably going to end up legislatively being one of the most successful presidents ever. When you consider the small majorities and how hostile Republicans were, it's that much more incredible. On foreign policy, I think he mostly did terrific too. I mean, I think a few hiccups here and there or whatever. But when it came to standing up to the right and fighting back forcefully, and the problem is I don't know that any Democrat would have done better. We finally got him in 2020 when I was writing some of those ads to people pushed him to at least use the F word and say semi-fascist. And we started to get that word in the lexicon. The real F word, the one that we need to use. But putting Merrick Garland in there, I mean, the harm that was done by that. How is it that 4 years went by and there are numerous ways to disqualify this guy from running again? The French have disqualified Marine Le Pen. She's done. I'm sure she really embezzled. She's a criminal because everybody on the right are scumbags and criminals when they get to that point. They don't believe in anything. But they may have done that just to make sure she couldn't run. I don't know. And if they did, good for them. They're protecting their democracy. The Romanians, the far-right lunatic, who ended up running there and in the first round of their elections initially got the most support or was in the top 2 and had no money and they knew Putin was doing it. Not only did they cancel those elections, they kicked the dude out. In Germany, obviously, that was the AfD party or whatever, that Nazi party that Elon Musk supported and that J.D. Vance supported, even though they would put J.D. Vance's Indian children, half Indian children, probably in a camp somewhere because J.D. Vance is one of the biggest pieces of shit in the world and literally for his own power would endanger his own children. But I digress. I have to say that every time because as a father, I find that to be almost beyond anything else. But that party, the German, they had to move on a couple issues, do a couple of things because again, they have a no Nazi rule in Germany because they don't believe that all disinformation and hate speech is speech. They realize rightly it undermines real free speech, and those guys came close to getting kicked off the ballot and had to sort of change certain things. Like other countries protect their democracies. We had 4 fucking years to find ways to keep this guy off the ballot, whether it was Congress being pushed to do it, whether it was Merrick Garland stepping forward and holding press conferences and doing all the stuff I'm doing weekly. Yeah, John Roberts could have kept pushing the schedule back and could have kept pushing the schedule back. There's no, he didn't have full legal control. He had absolutely all the control over a microphone anyone could have and a big job title and a lot of people that could have spoken into those constantly and got and labeled the people what they were that day, Nazi terrorists, and that Donald Trump led them. And that would have changed things. It could have changed minds. Again, like that this guy was allowed back. I mean, the supreme irony of this, I think I've told you guys this before. I went and I used to do work for the State Department. My original background was in foreign policy and USIA, which is really our democracy promotion division. Had me go on trips and speak over digital video conferences, which back then were like all highfalutin, in 2002, 3, 4, You could speak like via video on the wall to somebody, to the consulate in South Africa, which I did, or whatever. And I went to Romania to give a lecture on democracy, not to sort of say condescend, but to sort of support democracy promotion and all that. They kicked off their Putinite. We let ours get reelected. Who should be lecturing whom? As I say now, they should have sent me to Florida and Alaska and Arizona and Ohio and Oklahoma and picked 20 other states instead, because apparently Romania had their shit together. We didn't. You know, any of you that live on the East Coast, where I grew up, especially if you live in Boston or New York, but if you live in, I'd throw Philly in there for my time there. They've done some improvements on the subway systems, right? I mean, it made them a lot better. When I first moved home to New York after I went to college in Philly, I had to take the subway to work every morning. Yeah, and now we're talking mid-90s, folks. There was no air conditioning. There was none in the stations. They would break down on the trains half the time, right, on the subway cars. Go back further than that, you know, and you have to watch movies like Warriors and Death Wish to get what the subways were like. But the thing is that what was more difficult than, say, the Washington, D.C. subway system, the metro, as they call it, is that the older the systems were, the more infrastructure had been put in place earlier, the harder they were to change, right? The more work to change some of those tunnels, to do some of that stuff. It's not easy. It costs a lot more money, it takes a lot more effort, time. When infrastructure is put in place way back when. Well, our Constitution, all of that stuff was amazing. It also was predated all these other places we're talking about, some of them by a lot. And therefore, there are just a lot of things that were in practice. But we had to have the people that had the courage to stand up and say, this is wrong. This can no longer continue. This is not constitutional, even if it was tradition. And then when the other side started abusing it, it should have been the easiest damn thing to do in the world. You're not destroying an institution, you're protecting it. The Senate's been destroyed by Mitch McConnell money and the filibuster that he decided to use that nobody before him had ever used more than sparingly, and he applied it to everything. Getting rid of that would have been protecting the Senate institution, which in the Constitution is a majority institution. There is no filibuster in the Constitution. It was an accident of history. World War I created and then kind of used here and there by racist a-holes like Strom Thurmond. Thank God Cory Booker beat his record. But the thing is that shouldn't even exist. I'm glad Cory Booker did that because it does exist. But if it hadn't existed when we controlled everything a couple of different times, this would be a different country. I mean, numerous pieces of legislation, from numerous gun safety bills to codifying Roe to environmental bills, all sorts of things things were blocked by that. Raising the minimum wage, stronger unions. And by saying, hey, this is old infrastructure. This is something we've been doing. We've been a democracy a long time. Great. They've been doing this stupid thing since World War I. Also around that time, I may be wrong with filibuster. That may be an older stupid thing. But because I was about to say, the one I know that was created around World War I because we felt we're getting into so much debt was the debt ceiling. Also not in the Constitution. When Obama sat there negotiating, and he was weak on this, and I think Obama was a great president too, but I'm not going to be dishonest about things. When he sat there and let them force him into negotiations to, you know, theoretically protect institutions, when you let bullies get away with it, all you're doing is setting yourself up for something really bad in the future because they're going to keep getting worse. And he should have been like, hey, guess what? Fuck you. It doesn't exist. There is no debt ceiling. It was made up. It's not in the Constitution. The Constitution, in fact, says we are required to pay all debt that we owe. This is not about future debt. This is about what we have to pay that we owe at the time. We are not allowed to go into default. That's not how it works. So he could have just said, yeah, I don't respect your process. It's not constitutional. And I would have to believe that at that time, maybe before our courts had gone completely nuts, he may have won that case. This is the problem, is that we let the kind of sort of bad traditions that had developed that, you know, we already were at a disadvantage, right? South Dakota, I mean, Wyoming has more cows than people and they get 2 senators. I mean, you know, if we should have been adding, if we got under the filibuster, we could have been adding states, DC, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, places like that. I mean, there's just so many ways that we could have kind of prevented it from getting this bad, and we didn't. So I've been going off on a long rant for a while. To get back to where we started, it's always a thing here, isn't it? You've got Donald Trump. He's for the tariffs. Not even Elon Musk is for the tariffs. Elon Musk is for lots of stupid stuff. But I think I spoke on the broadcast yesterday that Matt was leading about that. I think that's all about Tesla, because it's killing Tesla as the market falls. And there's a margin call in there somewhere between 120 and 140, according to most of these analysts for Musk, because he used so much of his stock, the value of his stock in Tesla to purchase Twitter. And that margin call he may not be able to pay. He could very much go bankrupt. And this is not me just gleefully saying it. It is fact. He does not have these huge reserves because he always took stuff and poured it into other things because he's an idiot. And he got lucky, and he was great at hyping himself and lying about himself the way Donald Trump was. But eventually, so the one good thing come out of the stock market crashing is that, Tesla was already going down. Maybe it's going down even further. Who knows? Let's see where Tesla is right now. Tesla stock. Yeah, it went back up. It's at 265. We don't like that. It's up 43 points today. All right. You know what? I bet some people saw it cheap, think that there's value in that, and grabbed it. But it seems that it's not really gone up past 280 that I've seen recently. It stayed in that 220 to 280 range. We can drive that sucker down, which is why we need to keep hands off is very important, but let's not stop doing Tesla takedown. Let's not stop coming up with other ways, because if he gets driven into the point where there's a margin call, he's fucked. And that's very real. So, again, tariffs, he's on the right side of it. But this is more Trump, but Doge, of course, was him. We had the third worst job market last month, and in terms of folks getting fired, and it was completely self-inflicted. Completely. Like, Doge was 80% of those firings. A lot of those people were Republicans. It's just funny, right? You think government, and you think to yourself, oh, DC. Explain a margin call, please. I'm the warrior. Okay. So the way margin works is, you, when a stock is at a certain price, don't have to put up all of the money for what you're purchasing. I don't know what, we changed it after the Great Depression, because one of the things that we did, it's sort of like, if you remember, there were people who were making $30,000 a year buying $800,000 houses in 2006, 5, whatever, and what led us to the Great Recession, where we crashed because people could not pay their mortgages. And again, we deregulated mortgage lenders, and we pushed a consumer ethic of, you should be able to have anything you want. And, it was insane. Well, same deal with the stock market. Now, I don't know I looked it up last time. I don't remember what what margin is now, if it's 50% is required or whatever, but you put that money down. And when your stock, 50, let's make this easy. 50% of 100 is 50. 50% of 50 is 25. So there comes a point, if your stock price falls low enough, that you can't anymore pay the amount you have to pay, because your stock is worth much less. So to afford the amount you owe these guys, to afford your 50%, you got to get the money from somewhere. And if you have huge reserves or other places, you're okay. If you don't, at some point a margin call comes in, and that means the folks that you owe the money to come in and say, listen, we need to be paid. We don't trust you anymore. You don't have enough money, and you're going to have to pay us back. It's essentially like a big loan is how it works out. And you give it to someone like Elon Musk, you figure billionaire, all of that. But his money is green like the rest of ours. And if he's not paying them that green, they're not going to sit around and wait forever. He may get more allegiance than other, or not allegiance. He may get more allowances than other people. They may say, oh, we'll give you an extra couple months or do whatever. But at some point, if his stock keeps going down, and he's using to finance Twitter, they're not getting the money that they were supposed to be getting. He has to make up that difference. So he can't make it up if most of his sort of net worth is in Tesla stock, and that shit is just crashing. He's in trouble. And that's what's happened. That's why he's lost a huge amount of his net worth. I mean, he was worth like 380 billion. He's still, he may have fallen under 200 billion. He's still doing okay, sadly. And I mean, financially, if anybody's going to claim I'm wishing harm on him, I'm not. Only because I don't do that to other human beings. I have a general belief not in doing it, not because I don't hate him. And think that he's a boil on the ass of humanity. So Trump again, you got this situation with the tariffs and the stock market, and that's compounding people getting fired by Doge, and Musk's role in all this, and the fact that Musk pretty much has the personality of this. So he goes places and pisses people off. They hate him, and all those Republicans holding town halls. And as I said, most people tend to believe that they hear government jobs. They think themselves DC. You know where one of the main IRS headquarters is, where a lot of you may end up sending your checks to the government, is right here in Cincinnati. There are cities and counties and places throughout this country that have government buildings. It is not just DC. So there are people who didn't realize, and they're like, yeah, man, get rid of those government jobs. And they're probably thinking of lawyers or something in DC, which some of whom we very much need, by the way. I'm just saying, in their view, we didn't need them. And they were ranchers or farmers or, people like that. And suddenly, the people that are there locally to help them to make sure, let's say, they get their Social Security payments, Medicare payments, things like that, are gone. Park rangers, people to help out in sort of those areas, protect their land, gone. Oops. Now the government workers you kind of liked are no longer there to help you. And of course, on top of that, with Trump deporting everyone he can get his hands on, not only did they deport a number of folks who were working on these farms and ranches out in some of these Republican states, but the ones who didn't get deported, how do you think they reacted to seeing other people get deported to scary places like that terrorist prison in El Salvador? They stopped going into work because you'd like to make money, but if you want to stay in this country, you don't want to end up back in some hellhole. You're fleeing. You're Jack Reacher. You're on the next Greyhound somewhere, getting the hell out of there and seeing if you can sneak some work here or there somewhere else. And these people all voted for Trump. It's incredible. So they've lost any assistance they were getting, and farmers get lots of subsidies. Some of that stuff is not getting to them. The people that might help them, help protect their land, help advise them, help get them Social Security checks are disappearing, and their workers are disappearing. And if they're hiring anybody, American workers have certain rights that obviously undocumented ones don't have. I mean, another conversation another time about how we should not have a economy that works based on undocumented workers, that these are human beings that should be brought here into the light. And when we discover they are here, they've flown, who cares? When they've run away from horrible conditions, we should actually take care of them. I mean, we did used to grant asylum to all sorts of folks. One of the ones, of course, because we hated communist Cuba. I mean, you could be a fascist all you wanted, but communism, if you came from Cuba, and I'm not saying that was a good thing. Fidel Castro was a murderer. So were many fascists. Authoritarians are all bad. I don't care what they call themselves. But they could stay here. Well, Trump undid. I remember when a week or 2 weeks ago now, something like that. He undid some of the what am I looking for? Some of the rights. I'm not finding the right words, but of some of these Cubans to stay here, and they've been a Republican bloc for a long time because of that. So now all these circs are getting screwed. I'm finding a way, which is impressive of me, to not get to my main point. My main point in all of this, which I think you're all going to enjoy, is because of these kinds of civil wars in the Republican Party, Trump is pissed at those that either, the way Trump is, you can't even be quiet on Trump. you need to prostrate yourself before him and vociferously sing his name, praise him to the heavens, offer to give him a Ricci. Sorry, but it's probably true. If you're in Moscow, probably peeing him on a bed. Who knows? Point being, like, you got to do it. You got to really go out of your way to kiss Trump's butt. And that sort of, if you want to call it McConnell faction, the corporate GOP faction, who, don't get me wrong, you can hate all sorts of groups that hate each other. That McConnell faction, McConnell destroyed the Senate and destroyed our judiciary, and he's horrible. And I'm not going to I wish anything on him, but whenever it eventually happens, may he rot in hell. Part of that faction is a group of corporate Republicans who aren't really as much the populist types. They were more pro-immigration reform because it helped business. They were more pro-infrastructure bill. They were some of the ones that Biden got in the infrastructure bill because even though we needed that and that was good for all of us in jobs, the Chamber of Commerce wanted it. It was good for business. So, if you can find common ground with business on things like immigration and infrastructure, they're all for it. Well, one of those people is a guy by the name of John Cornyn. You may know who he is. And, he's a whore. He tweeted out, I'll never forget, when that disease, I'm not allowed to say, was hitting. He tweeted out a picture of him drinking a Corona beer because he thought that was funny and just said, "Take it easy, folks. Everything will be fine." Yeah, it was for him. He probably didn't have all sorts of people that were propagandized, lied to, and died, or were too poor and not educated enough and died. He's a special sort of a-hole. And, he's part of that McConnell faction, but he also is not Trumpian. Like, he believes in the pro-business stuff. So they have found themselves perhaps one of the few human beings that is as despicable as Donald Trump is to run against him in a primary. And there's no way this guy's doing it without Trump backing him. And Trump backed him when Jeb Bush's kid challenged him for AG way back around. Yes, Ken Paxton. Do we all know who Ken Paxton is? Excuse me. Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton doesn't want me to say things about him. Because if they did, I'd come out with the fact that what John Cornyn already said about him when he announced, which was, you mean the guy that used to call different Ubers to go see all of the women that weren't his wife? That was a nice shot across the bow. Disgusting guy who, of course, serial infidelity. He's one of the uglier people alive, so it's sort of incredible. Was impeached even in the Republican House, and they tried to convict him in the Senate, but Trump lobbied for him and some of the other ones. When he was elected AG of Texas, he already had been caught up in, and I believe convicted of campaign finance scandals. He's been convicted of a number of other things since then. Probably, thank you for blessing me, all of you kind folks. Should probably look it up and say, see what Ken Paxton's criminal record is, because it is impressive. It may be worse than Trump's. Well, we've got felony securities fraud charges from July 2015. That was before he was even elected. Persuading investors to buy stock in McKinney-based Servergy without disclosing he would be compensated for it. Yeah, that's called being dishonest. It's been ongoing. He also sexually harassed women in his office. So he's really good that way too. He fits Trump well. Let's see, where's the wiki here, so we can just give you the quick rundown on his criminal record. And I'm telling you right now, he actually could lose if he became the nominee, and I think he will. And it'll be a terrible year because they're going to strike out against everybody on the inside. Doesn't matter that Cornyn sort of stood up to Trump, or at least, he didn't really, but, said some things that were against tariffs and whatever. People are going to look at all insiders the same. And so right wingers are going to go for Paxton, and they're going to be in a mood to kick out all of the bums. So with this criminal, we may actually end up having a shot in Texas. And I know we've said that many times now, so I'm not going to go believing it until it happens. But remember, Trump won't be on the ballot, and we've pulled off some big things in some of these off-year elections. So there we are. indicted on state securities fraud in 2015. March 2024, prosecutors dropped the security charges under terms of a pretrial agreement. October 2020, several high-level assistants in his office accused him of, quote, bribery, abusive office, and other crimes. May 2023, he was impeached by the Texas House of Representatives with a vote of 121 to 23, and that's a very overwhelmingly Republican House of Representatives in Texas. Articles of impeachment include allegations Paxton gave potential preferential treatment to a political donor. Well, of course he did, and they all do. But whatever, bribed him, misapplied public resources, made false statements against whistleblowers. That is something he actually did. There were whistleblowers. He tried to destroy them because he's a nice guy. Obstructed justice in the securities fraud case. I mean, he's one of these guys like Trump that's just a serial criminal, and Musk, right? They may not never be brought up on stuff and whatever. And I guess I'm supposed to say allegedly at this point. But Musk settled a sexual harassment case and some other things like that. But that's what we're talking about here. He's sort of covered all the various areas, from the financial to the abusing office and being a fascist to the treating women awfully. And so you have to believe, I'm sorry, he wouldn't do this without the blessing of Steve Bannon and Donald Trump and that whole coterie of colic lunatics. So there you go. He is going to take on Cornyn in what I consider the first great news of the year. At the very least, the Republican Senatorial Committee will have to spend all sorts of money defending him, and Trump will be supporting Paxton. So the civil war will only increase. And I believe you're going to see more of those. And there are a number of Republicans that are up who are maybe not sufficiently Trumpy. Example being, and I know my man, if he's still in here, Lefty Gramps will agree with me. They took this scumbag who took free tickets to like the Alamo Bowl at one point, and lied about his residence, so he voted illegally, which Republicans didn't care about as much because he's got blue eyes, I believe, and sandy brown hair. But I'm talking about John Husted, who was our Secretary of State and then ended up ran for governor and failed, and when became lieutenant governor to Mike DeWine, and was appointed to the open Vance seat. He's a non-entity. He's a nothing. He just has an R next to his name. Now, again, Sherrod Brown overperformed Kamala Harris by a lot, 8 points. He only lost by 3 points last time, and that was with Trump on the ticket. Trump off the ticket. This is Ohio is certainly lean Republican, but it's not the same thing. We won all three swing House races, including knocking out a Republican incumbent in 2022. And we also were able to, I think we picked up a Supreme Court seat or two. In any case, point being, Husted is awful and sucks, and this is going to be an anti-Trump year, but he may not be Trumpy enough. Because he acts like like DeWine, like they still kind of have the pretense, like a John, like Cornyn and Thune and people like that. What they vote for and what they support is absolutely horrific and harms people, and frankly, let's just be honest, kills people. Right? They voted against healthcare. People don't get it; they die. I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. But he's not an in-your-face guy who's been convicted of all sorts of crimes and has harassed women that I know of and all of that. It means he may not be Trumpy enough, so they may have to find somebody worse here, which only would increase our chances. So I do think you're going to be looking at a period of time. I remember, Trump doesn't think about things like majorities and this and that. He thinks about just loyalty to him. He doesn't care what he destroys. He enjoys destroying lots of things to hurt people, and other stuff, like he has no loyalty to the Republican Party or really anybody else in it. So doesn't matter. So what you're going to see is, you may see it here, you may see it in Florida, depending upon who runs for that seat that was opened up by Marco Rubio. And there's even talk in Georgia. Yes, there is, of Marjorie Taylor Greene being the nominee against John Ossoff, which would just be the greatest thing in the world. The campaign would be so much fun just to blast her constantly. And she'd get crushed. I don't know if you saw lately, because this will shock you, but Like there's just no, for these types of people, again, Ken Paxton, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Marjorie Taylor Greene, there's no floors. We know there's no scum. They can't pond scum. They can't find a way to get below. There's no circle of hell too deep. They're just the worst, most awful, awful people. And the fact that the Republicans have made that a defining feature, and that the more awful you are, the more they support you, is really a sad state of affairs. And so you may have seen where Marge's ex-husband, the one she cheated on with the gym rat. So in case you found yourself feeling sorry for him, I'm sure you didn't, because he married Marjorie Taylor Greene at some point. So unless she suddenly had a tumor that changed her personality, he thought that was an acceptable person to be married to for a while. He had to admit and apologize. I don't know why he wasn't charged with something for, I guess he didn't do anything physical, for mocking 3 Muslim women who were praying, insulting them, like tantamount to, not quite, but close to a hate crime, certainly hate speech. So that's Marjorie Taylor Greene's husband. Let her run with her divorce and her various relationships and what, they love that in the right, and all the stupid crap she said. I mean, she'll get it'll be a civil war in a primary, but even in a general, it won't be fun for her. If it's not fun for her, it is fun for me. So that was the main story I wanted to get to, is it's all beginning. The Republican Party is unraveling. And no, don't think that I'm one of these pie in the sky people saying see, it's unraveling, we're great. There's all sorts of damage that Trump can do, as he's proven, as he's doing at this very moment. And Elon Musk, our unelected backdoor billionaire who goes in and makes decisions that he wasn't elected nor appointed to make, and little Bible thumping, when he's not probably thumping something else at clubs on Saturday nights, Mike Johnson, and this whole collection of just, land of misfit toys, scumbag, non-evolved material, sort of amoeba-ish thinking. I mean, they're also repulsive. Hell, even if I didn't have a problem with crimes and stuff like that, they're all such trash. They're so repulsive. I couldn't even imagine spending time around them. But hey, that's me. Our local Democrats already have one candidate slates on many primaries. I'm not sure what that means, Mr. Android. Somebody said that Nancy Mace is gay in there, and I don't know if that's true or not. But you said doubt me there. I wouldn't doubt you. First of all, it seems to be a requirement of every South Carolina Republican, because not that Lindsey Graham obviously is as he said, is a lifelong bachelor. That's what he referred to him. Is that what he called himself? I think so. He's a bachelor, just enjoys the bachelor life. And then there's Tim Scott, who found a way to have a short-lived relationship when he was running for president, and then unrelationship himself from a woman. So they're big on closeted gay Republicans who can't just love themselves for who they are and be who they are and be proud of it in South Carolina. So, I certainly wouldn't doubt Nancy Mace would fit the pattern. Not that it's alleged, of course. I have no proof on Lindsey Graham or Tim Scott. Just weird things like common sense and eyes. So I think we have hope that way. And the cool thing is, you saw where they had to pull back on Elise Stefanik going to the UN, because a +9 Republican seat was not good enough. They're so underwater right now, they would have lost that. They needed the +15 and +19 Republican seats that had incumbents, that really aren't that where they win by more than that. In Florida, those were the only places they could feel like they were okay for those special House races. I'm going to start talking about it more, though. Adam Kinzinger brought it up, whether you like Adam or not. Eventually, he did the right thing. 3, 4 Republicans right now. Brian Fitzpatrick in the suburbs of Pennsylvania, Don Bacon, the one from Nebraska too. From here, Mike Turner got kicked off the Senate Intelligence Committee because he was pro-Ukraine. Like, have a fucking spine, guys and gals. Stand up. There's one, I think her name's Solis, who's a moderate, who's pro-choice and for background checks is in the Miami area. What are you doing? You're going to lose your seats if you're in those kinds of seats, because you're going to have to choose between Donald Trump being loyal to him, in which case a lot of MAGAs will hate you because they've lost their jobs and other stuff and swing voters, or you'll have to turn against him, in which case he will instruct his voters to not go out and vote for you, and you will lose. You'll lose one way or another, because he is going to so split that party up worse than ever before by a lot, because he's brought up more divisive issues this time than last time around for that party and the country. I mean, the tariffs and the stock market and all of that. So why not do the right thing? And you can remain independents and caucus with Democrats and stop some of the madness. It's on you. People should start. That's another thing. If Democrats messaged well, is we'd pick out those 5, 6, 7, 8 Republicans who vote against the party here and there and are from more kind of moderate districts, and literally have some people in their districts all the time speaking out about what they're doing and what they're not doing. But yeah, so that's where we are. It's about 3 o'clock. I want to make sure that you guys know where to find me. I'm on Substack tomorrow. Oh, and hey, so somebody had brought up here, I'm sorry, I don't remember who, that the fact that you could only chat in the Substack live if you were a paid subscriber. Well, I found out how to change that, and I'm going to. As I've told you before, I've got too many subscribers over there, free subscribers, in the hundreds of thousands, many that I can't open up like my regular chat, like DMs, because it became a zoo last time and people were yelling at each other and I can't moderate it. But chat's different, chat's an open forum, so I'm gonna do that. I talked to them yesterday, so you can all you need to do is subscribe at the big Substack, and you can come in tomorrow and you can join, and you'll have fun. And you get to see me and David Schuster and Joe Walsh. We'll be talking with Joe. We're talking about some of the Republican journey here. I want to talk about the Paxton situation with him and others, and because he was one that I once said some very mean things about. And at some point, I will always say most people do not change, but he had a pang of conscience, and I very much believe it, that he had been a part of something that he saw getting out of control. Started criticizing Trump and where the Republicans were headed around 2016, and stuck with them then, but was criticizing them, and they couldn't handle any of it. And then they started to hate him, and it just got worse from there. Yes, thank you, E.T. I see Jim calling that out. So we've got that. I want to give you guys something else. Because if you go to this, while you do it, you can go, you can actually go and subscribe. So this is a new post. Granted, I think this is a paywalled one, but you can read part of it. So there's a big chunk of it you can read, and you can make a decision if it's worth it for you over there or not. To become a paid member, I would encourage you and say it very much is. And it's very much where I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff is over there. So that's that post. Check it out. Go give it a read. See what you think. Join us there. But if you want to join as an unpaid subscriber, that'd be great. That's all you have to do is be an unpaid subscriber to get pinged. We have your email, and you'll know when we're on tomorrow. It'll be 2 p.m. the time that we always come on here. I purposely made it the same time. Obviously, encourage anyone who's willing to support the work I do to please join the Patreon also. Again, like I'm trying to find the balance between everything. So because I finally got some financial support that, of course, lefty billionaires won't give me from Substack. Just being able to use some of the software, some of the setup, and having them promote me and all of that can be something that can allow me to be successful at this, get the message out further. We're already getting it out to nearly 600,000 people. So why not try to expand that? And keep coming on here to, I love my YouTube people. I love my Twitch people. I appreciate, keep subscribing. We passed 115,000 at YouTube. I think we're almost at 116,000 for a little bit there. We just took off. We slowed down a little bit again, but I think we're speeding up a bit again. Here, Jim has that very kindly. And I think that's mostly it. BBC says, can the U.S. return man deported to El Salvador? Immigration lawyers think so, from Mr. Android. I mean, I'm not sure in which case you mean, can the U.S.? Of course we can. Trump can ask, how you ever pronounce his name, Bekele or whatever, the president there, say, this man's innocent. This is what's so abhorrent to me about this. I'm going to talk about this tomorrow too, because this is a moral issue that is so basic, so beyond even something anybody can argue. He is innocent. Trump has admitted he's innocent. Trump's people have admitted he's innocent. We all know he's innocent. And if you've done that, to then when a judge orders you to bring him back, say, well, sorry, you don't have any jurisdiction, go try to convince the El Salvadorian president. Why, if you weren't the worst effing humans in the world, would you not try to bring somebody innocent back? What is wrong with you? Honestly, what is wrong with you? You horrid, horrid fucking people. It's amazing to me. You would think that this would just be basic. I mean, even if you were a bad person, even your politics suck. So I don't know, Mr. Android, I don't know what the answer to that is. I mean, I know Trump can do it. I'm sure anytime, call the guy and do it. Can we force them to do it without Trump's help? If immigration lawyers think so, terrific. I mean, obviously the Supreme Court just said that we can use, an act from 1798 that wasn't even constitutional then. And it was supposed to be during a time of war. We are not at war. By the time Trump's done, we will be. We're at trade war, if that counts. We've really kind of been at cyber war with Russia and should have called it war ever since they elected Trump. Certainly helped do it. But we are not in a shooting war with anyone, which is what they were talking about. Because if I'm correct, when John Adams was president, he didn't do the cyber thing. He wasn't online. I think that's the case. So it's insane. I mean, the Supreme Court, again, John Roberts has shown himself to be the pathetic whore that he is. And so I don't know. I think even with what they said, which is you can still use the Alien Sedition Act or whatever, it doesn't change the fact that innocent people aren't supposed to be deported. Even if it lowers the bar, even if it says those who are engaging in activities supporting an enemy, blah, 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 which is still pretty scary. And it's still based on non-citizens, though you should know that Trump is looking for legal ways to deport citizens now, too, because that's who he is. I think that's most of what I have, guys. I am, as I told you, I will be here every Wednesday. I will be here some Tuesdays. You should absolutely tune in for Matt Robeson. He gets great guests, brilliant guy. And I'll be one of those guests here and there too. So you'll catch me as the host sometimes and the guest sometimes. My guess is between those two things, I will be on Tuesday probably at least twice a month. I'll keep doing these Wednesdays. And I think we'll see. The show kicks off tomorrow, goes really well and everything. And I'm under too much pressure for stuff. Then, we don't have much to worry about. Amy O'Connor, no more Hal show. I'm going on Hal on Monday. It's weird. It hasn't worked out. It's not something to do with Hal wanted me on 2 weeks ago, and we took the kids. My older son, who's graduating from high school, it was like a graduation trip, so we were in Key West. This past week, I was ready to go on, and he had technical difficulties. I feel like something happened the week before that, so no, I haven't been on Hal's show in like a month, but it's not due to anything except for weird stuff coming up. So on Monday, I've already talked to them. I am supposed to go on Hal's show at 12, I believe it is. Otherwise, Tony Michaels is not quitting YouTube. He got suspended a week ago. He was supposed to be put back on yesterday or today. If he wasn't on today, on YouTube, and then and you didn't see him there, then I'm gonna guess that it's because they hadn't let him back on yet. He's so pissed at them, I could see him quitting them in the future, and I wouldn't blame him. You know, if the Substack stuff gets big enough and you all are willing to go on over there, then YouTube is, you know. But for my regular videos, I like putting them up there. So, so please go and subscribe at YouTube. I'm sorry. Well, yes, at YouTube. Please go and subscribe at Substack. And, you know, any support you can give me, again, is just we'll decide how much I can do. Oh, Tony was on his show today, Cliffy, on YT from Deborah Cornett. Okay, well, somebody had said, is he leaving YouTube? So I don't know. Maybe he talked about it. He was pissed at them. But if he was back on YouTube today, then, well, he's back. So here we go, right? Let me make sure to give credit to the 4 folks who have jumped in and supported. I'm going to ask the rest of you to consider paid subscriptions at Substack and Patreon. You can get for $5. There's even a $3 level at Patreon just to support me. And of course, there are super chats and whatever. These are the things that allow me to do it. Again, I don't want to lessen what I do. I just I can't do extra work constantly and find myself in a situation where I don't have the time to do the stuff I need to do. So Sheldon Hughes, always Sheldon, thank you for the gifted Cliff's Edge membership to YouTube. Carl Jacobson, keep on keeping on. Carl Jacobson, 6 months at YouTube. Awesome. And you'll all be getting some notes from me too. I'm just going to tell you right now, you're all going to be offered, if you're willing to try it out, a free paid month over at Substack. I'm even thinking of giving you 2. If you're willing to just go try it out and keep an open mind to staying there and seeing what it is of value we provide. E.T., thank you. I think P.Y., you're saying a word for a woman's anatomy, I would believe. And the BH is also that. Blinked. Full oil tanker is sitting offshore because of a huge glut and drilling is slowing to zero. So much for drill, baby, drill. I'm not sure who you're even talking about, but good if any right-wingers blinked and gave in. And you're right. Say his name. Kilmar Abrego. Is it Kilmar? If I'm pronouncing it wrong, tell me. Abrego Garcia. I should say it constantly. You all should. Say it loud, say it often, shout it at protests, and not be surprised if he doesn't make it home alive. Sadly, I worry. It's not sad that I worry, but because of it, I worry about that. Yes, say his name. I will say it enough to myself. Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Kilmar Abrego Garcia. We should all repeat it constantly. Lefty Gramps, a $3 super sticker. Thank you so much. I say's 1971. A $4.99 super sticker. I'm not doing, this is what happens. I don't do this stuff for a little while. You all deserve your credit. So here's Sheldon. Thank you, Sheldon. Carl Jacobson, thank you for the 6 months. E.T., even though I'm not sure who you're talking about, I'm glad that some Republican got screwed. E.T. again, you are right. Kilmar Abrego Garcia. I'm going to repeat that to myself many times. Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Lefty Gramps, even though Lefty Gramps is a paid Substack member and can tell you the value of that and how good it is, he is also giving me a $3 super sticker. Thank you. I say is 1971, if I'm pronouncing that right. A $4.99 super sticker. Thank you so much. Sheldon Hughes, a $2 super sticker. Sheldon again, always showing up. Petrazi 20, a member for 3 months. All right. 3-month membership. And as I said, you'll all be getting, they don't give me your emails if you're YouTube, because YouTube likes to keep all its data, another thing it does. So there, I'm going to send you guys a message to the general platform and, where you are. And hopefully you go there and you read it. To you folks at Patreon, what I'll do is I'll send you something to the platform, and I've got your emails. I'll email you and try to coax you over to a paid Substack by giving you a free month or 2. Kathleen Matthews, new member. Thank you for joining. We have a new member. And Sheldon Hughes has been a member for 4 months. So I should put that up. Thank you, Kathleen. I should put Petrazi up here. Thank you. And Sheldon, I should put you up here. Look at that. All right, before I leave, who's coming with me? I actually just need one more 99-cent super sticker, 99-cent super chat, whatever works for you. One more person can step up and say, hey, what Cliff does is of value. I support you. I get it. There is no infrastructure for your side, and you are putting in a lot of time doing this. One more person. We're out. Well, we've got Carol Pack, who's been a member for 5 months. Keystone Leak, is that what you're talking about? Anyone? Do I have to take the fish? No. There we go. Sheldon jumped in and did it. Sheldon, you are the man. I think at some point, Sheldon, you have been so supportive here. I know that you're on, I believe, I know you're in Patreon. You may, hopefully you're paid at Substack too, or at least there. You and a few of the other folks have been so kind and generous and constantly supporting me. Will be getting various items for that because absolutely you deserve it. And that's it, guys. I wanted to say thank you again for all being here. I really appreciate your supporting me, appreciate your watching and everything else that you do to fight for democracy. And I think we just have to say now that thing that we say, which is, as the sun sets slowly in the west, until I see you at Substack tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, because you've joined, we'll mix that in. I bid you a fond farewell. Seriously, thanks, guys. Take care.